Welcome to the Happy Mama Village podcast with Bryann and Annie, a podcast about mamas, for mamas, and by mamas. Hi, everyone. This is the Happy Mama Village podcast, episode 8. We are your hosts, Bryann Zielinski
and Annie Henderson.
It is great to be back here in our village with you, where we talk about all things pertaining to happy mamas, like relationships, parenting, how to make a great sangria, self-care, etc., etc. So, Annie, tell me, how have you been?
I have been, it was a full weekend. I live in a smaller town in North Texas, and they had their first Pride event in our little bitty town.
Oh, awesome.
And we didn't even really know about it. We drove by a sign and we were like, oh, they must be confused. This is our little town. They don't do that yet. And nope, it was the first annual, and it had a great turnout, hundreds of people. So it just shows you, sometimes we have a certain mindset and thoughts about something because that's the way it used to be. And it's just a great reminder that all of us, even towns, even nations, can change and adjust and adapt and get better and better.
It can surprise you. People can surprise you, right?
Yes. So exciting.
Awesome.
What about you? How was that birthday?
It was really good. So on Saturday, my husband and my girls surprised me and took me to a place in Fort Worth. It's like the West 7th area, which is kind of trendy and fun. And it was this great restaurant / bar kind of thing, but they had outdoor games. So they had this huge outdoor patio that was, trees and lights, and they had
fun.
Yeah, they had giant Jenga games, giant Connect 4, like lawn games. There was ping pong and foosball tables outside. It was so much fun. I love games. I'm super competitive. I love it. So it's called American Gardens.
American Gardens.
American Gardens. It's in West 7th. I don't remember the name of the street because I wasn't driving, but the food was good and the atmosphere was the best, though. So
awesome.
It's a great place.
That's in Fort Worth?
It's in Fort Worth. So it's kind of around University. It's on 7th Street. It's kind of a popular area in Fort Worth.
Yeah,
but if you're not from
amazing.
There. Yeah. And that whole area has got a lot of fun places to eat and things to do. But this one, the atmosphere was so great, even for kids, even though probably the later it got, it would be maybe a little not family oriented, because it's a bar, gotcha. Later,
Yeah.
But, we were there in the early evening. It was a little warm, but they had misters and fans. So it was great. It was fun.
That sounds like an amazing birthday. You are loved.
I am. It was great. It was great. And okay, so we spent a lot of time talking this weekend about stories, funny stories, and things like that. And it reminded me of our podcast today. I was so excited about it.
Good. All right. Should I start us off today?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, listeners, this is a new type of podcast for us, and it's something that we want to do regularly. And what it is we pick maybe our favorite quote of the month, or I don't know if we've decided how often to do this, but I'm going to lead us off with a quote and kind of follow it up with some stories and what it means to me, and get Bryan's take on it, and then she will share hers as well. Sound good?
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yes. Okay. So here is mine. It is one that I snagged from my Instagram page for Life Coach Annie, and it goes like this. Every action you take is like a vote for the person you want to become. I will repeat that. Here we go. Every action you take is like a vote for the person you want to become.
I love
So,
that.
just looking back at my weekend, it was a mixture of votes in every direction. So this weekend, yesterday, there was like a monsoon type activity in my little town of Sherman. We had a wonderful time spent at church, and it was great. We actually our pastors are moving on, and we're missing them, and it was full of tears. And then the rest of the day, we just kind of wallowed and watched some TV and rested and took a nap, and it was not very productive. So, in terms of watching too much TV, that's not always the vote that I want to do. In terms of relaxing, though, sometimes we do need one of those days. Do you ever have days like that, Bryann?
Yes. Yeah, I'm kind of a homebody.
Hmm.
I like being at home. I like being around my family. So, yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
I like those days.
And there's relaxing days and there's family days. This Scarlett was at her dad's, and this was just a too much TV kind of day. So, not it is not the usual, but it was, so I would actually call that a vote, maybe in the wrong box for how I want my future to, and who the person I want to become.
Okay.
But something else this weekend is, like you said, we can be homebodies as well, and we don't get in enough friend time. But one of Sam's friends invited us out to Texas Motor Speedway, and we're not
Oh.
huge racing fans. So it could have been an easy, no, that's too far to drive. I don't like watching cars drive in circles. It could have been all of that. It's hot, but we went with her friend, and we got to be in a suite. We got to,
Ooh.
you know, do a little friendly wager. We got to learn about it. And, putting that little friendly wager always makes it a little more interesting, where I pay attention a little
Yeah,
bit more.
nice.
And
Nice. Well, if you're gonna go to NASCAR, the suite is the way to go.
that is the way to go. Go to somebody with a work connection.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's true for just about anything. Like,
Yeah,
I don't care what sport it is, what it is. If you're gonna be in a suite, it's gonna be fun. So just go and do
exactly. That's
it.
how I like to watch sports. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
so funny. Okay, so I'm gonna interject. This is just kind of a funny little thing in our family. So my oldest daughter Brinkley, we don't go to a lot of sporting events. You know, I love sports, but we just don't go very often. And her first experiences at, let's see, at a Mavericks game, a Ranger game, and a hockey game, the Stars, it just so happened that we went with friends, and all three of them were sweet experiences.
oh
She
no,
had never she had never I'm like, she's totally ruined for
you have
sporting
ruined
events.
her.
No, I know. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's not real life."
Oh my gosh. Well, that's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay. You'll have to
yeah.
take her out to the hottest, event of the year and let her sweat it
Yes.
out. Get a burn like everyone else.
Yes, in the nosebleed section.
That's hilarious. Yes. Okay, let me just run through a few more examples, and then we'll move on to yours. So, in terms of going out with friends, boop, that is a vote in, definitely who I want to be more of. Um, trying
Right, trying new
trying
things.
new things, yes, a
Yeah.
vote. This morning I woke up early, to meditate. Bing! That's a good one.
Nice.
Exercise, anything where it's consistently doing things where I'm becoming a better person, that is a vote that I love to put in. Sleep in as long as possible. That happens occasionally, but in my head, that is not a vote
Not a
into who
vote.
I do not, but I am not a productive person on those days.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes, occasionally, it feels pretty good, but
Right, and
consistently, no.
yes, and, that's so great because you gave some, like, really, practical day in, day out examples of how you vote for the person you wanna be. Um, but you can also look at it kind of with bigger situations. Like, what comes to mind for me is, during my divorce, during my separation, my daughter had a school program, and I invited my husband at the time. We were just separated. We had just started the divorce process. And it was really important to me for us to have a united front, to show a united front. So I told him about the program, offered to have him sit next to me, and he turned me down. And, it irritated me, it aggravated me, whatever, but I got over it. Well, the next program rolls around and now we're divorced. We've been divorced for about 4 months. And he shows up with his new pregnant wife. Dun, dun, dun. And I had a choice to make. So, do I want to be the person who gets butthurt and is bitter and reacts, negatively and ruins the event for my daughter, makes it uncomfortable for everyone? Or do I want to vote for the self that I want to be, which is that united front, a harmonious divorce relationship, amicable? Do I want to vote for her, or do I want to vote for that, bitter, snarky, revengeful person? So I chose the high road.
Yeah.
I voted for the self I wanted. And, regardless of what the outcome was, long term, I guess I have pride knowing that I did vote for the person I wanted to be, that I was true to her.
Yeah, of course. And that's amazing because it could have gone so dark.
Yes, it could have gone either way.
You could have been the worst role model at that time for your daughter, and instead you put a vote in the right section. And I really believe that anytime you do that vote, if you have kiddos, they're seeing your consistency and they're seeing if you're doing what you say.
Yes. So awesome. I love that quote.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for
Yeah.
us, Bryann, being consistent with our podcasts, that is
Oh,
on the list. I'm going to vote for
yes.
that one every time.
We're going to vote for our future selves on that one.
There you go. All right. What is your quote?
So I also stole my quote from my Instagram page, which is Rebuilding with Bryann. And I posted this one a couple months ago, and I really liked it. So, and as far as how it relates to being divorced or in a transition. And the quote is, "And this is the part when you find out who you are." So let me say it again. "And this is the part when you find out who you are." So the reason I love this is I am competitive. I like being motivated to be better. I like when you're, down and out, you're behind, and you've got to rise to the occasion. I like that underdog mentality, right?
Yeah.
And this quote just reminds me of how I felt during my transition out from being married into being a single mom. And it was for me, it was me and my girls against the world. And this is when I get to decide. I get to decide who I want to be. I get to decide what kind of family we're going to have and what's important. What are our values going to be? And I loved that opportunity. And I know it's easy during those times of transition out of a divorce, out of a marriage, to get down and think of all the things that you've lost. But there's a flip side. There are some things that you're gaining. You're gaining the opportunity to create who you want to be. Does that make sense?
It does. That's
Yeah.
your fresh start. You get to choose. And I
You
love
get to
that quote.
choose.
I love it.
Yeah. And so I was trying to think of a story or something that kind of went along with this quote. And okay, so this was quintessential. This sums up my separation. I was alone in a smaller town that was about 45 minutes away from my support system, away from my family. And I had two tiny kids. I had a house to maintain, and I didn't know how to mow the yard. I'd never mowed a lawn before. Now, in theory, I knew how to do it.
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
I knew it needed gas. I knew you had to like yank this cord. So like I knew how to do it in theory. But in practicality, I'd never actually done it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna do it. And I did. And I mowed the lawn and I
Yes.
felt so much pride. And I was like, yes, I did this and I don't need a man and I can do this by myself. And it was so energizing. And it filled my bucket so much.
Conquered the world.
Yes. So that was in May. And I mowed my lawn all summer into the fall. And then there was a break. And every time I did it, I loved it. I felt like I was getting exercise. I was out in the sun. I just really loved it. So there's a break. You don't have to mow your lawn during the winter. And around comes April, and you've got to start mowing your lawn again. And so I'm all pumped. I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. And I go out there and I do it. And I could not have been more miserable. It was the worst thing I'd ever done. I was like, why do people like doing this so much? It's awful. What was I thinking? And it just was so funny because at the time I needed that boost. I needed to feel strong. I needed to prove to myself that I could do it. And so at the time, I was proving to myself who I wanted to be. I was finding out who I was, that I'm going to be strong. And then I learned that lesson. I didn't need it anymore.
The next year, and this is the part where you find
I didn't
out.
need it. I just hired somebody to do it.
No, I mean, it's a question that you can ask every year.
Yes. And the answer may change.
Exactly. That's a great story because yeah, so many times we think we can't do things that have been done for us. And yeah, we find out so much about ourself and our true strength and grit. And thanks for sharing that story, Bryann.
Yeah.
I love it.
What about you?
Okay. All right, let me reread the quote. And this is the part when you find out who you are. Okay, so let's see. At this time in my life, my daughter was 4 years old. I was in my 20s. I was single. I was playing soccer with friends and coworkers, just having a good old time. I was going to grad school. I was teaching first grade. I was going to grad school for school counseling and professional counseling. And at the time, my principal was also asking me to be the team lead for first grade. So just added responsibilities. I'd also just met Sam, my current partner. I think we're on 8 years now. Woohoo!
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And my brother and his wife were struggling with creating their family, and they had decided after trying and trying, they were going to use a gestational carrier. And they asked me. They asked me,
Wow.
and I was like, okay, I can do this. I adore them. They're going to be amazing, amazing parents. I had an easy pregnancy with my daughter. Let's see. And then I'm like, oh, it doesn't really go well with like dating someone new, being pregnant. And then it ended up
Wow.
being twins. Um, so,
Wow.
so
Wow.
yes. So it was actually out of all those things, I think asking to be team lead was the one at the very end where I was like, you know what? My plate's kind of full right now. I don't think I can take anything extra. Um, but I did all of that all at the same time. My grad classes were about an hour away, and I was having to drive to them. I would have to pull over on my way home at like 9 p.m. to give myself shots on the side of the road. It was just, it was, it was,
Oh
it
my gosh,
was
Annie.
bizarre and it was amazing. But now I look at it and I'm like, I can do anything.
I'm invincible.
What else you got, world? What else you got?
Yeah.
So that
Wow.
was my okay. I found out who I am. I can do this and this and this and carry someone else's twins and have a new
Yeah.
relationship. And it was just
Yeah.
it was just amazing. So that's the story that comes to mind when I hear that quote.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
that
flashback.
wow,
Oh,
I'm
speaking of,
tired. I'm tired just listening
right?
to that story. Oh, wow, that's awesome. Okay, so listening to you talk, it just reminds me of mindset. It's all about mindset. Like
Yes.
in both of our situations, we could have there's a negative side to it. And if you focus on the negative, you're going to end up feeling those negative thoughts. I can't do this. Nobody wants me. In my case, nobody wants me. I'm trying so hard and I'm not getting anywhere. Blah blah. All those stories, all those negative stories that you can tell yourself.
Yes, it can
Or
get in your way so easy.
it's so easy, get in your own way. Or you can focus on the positive. There's always a flip side. I don't care. I really don't care what the situation is. And I know there are some horrific situations out there. And I'm not minimizing that. But there is something positive that can come out of it. Just like in your situation, you now feel so much you probably have so much energy thinking when you're in a situation, nope, I can do this because I've done that. I can do this now because I did that 7 years ago, 8
Yeah,
years ago,
looking back and
you
just
know
saying, "You know what? I've done this, so I can do this. I
yeah.
can do it."
And that applies to everyone. So all whatever your horrific situation is, you can say, okay, I can make it through this. I will make it through this. And in the future, I'll be able to look back and say, I did that. I survived that. And then it's going to help you move forward. So it's really all about mindset, don't you think?
It is, which is a huge part of what we do now, right?
It's a huge part of what we do is helping people move from that negative mindset that's holding them back to a more positive, helpful mindset that's going to move them to where they want to be. I mean, that's life coaching, really, in a nutshell.
That is looking and finding solutions and not dwelling on your past, because yes, for both of our past, we could definitely go on and spin in circles about what's happened and what we've gone through and everything since then, and instead it is, where do I want my life to go now? Where do I want to put our votes? We're going to find out who we are now and just shoot forward. And that's what we love to help people do.
I love that. Yep. So, okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps us up for today.
It does.
We're going to end on a good note. Thanks, everyone, for listening. For more information about life coaching or to interact with us directly, you can check us out on Facebook at the Happy Mama Village or on our individual websites at rebuildingwithbryann.com.
And AnnieMHenderson.com.
The show notes will have our email addresses plus additional information. So, okay, mamas, be sure to go out and prove who you are, make some votes for the person you want to be, and join us here next week at the Village.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Happy Mama Village. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a comment, like, or share, and be sure to join Annie and Bryann for next week's episode.